So here we go. Let's dive in. Now, here's the big promise that I promised you in the literature that I sent out, is that if you apply what you learn in today's webinar, you'll be able to, one, stop bad habits, two, stick to goals that matter, and three, you'll start achieving more in 2023. So the whole idea is to really set you up with the mindset, the skill set to really get off to a great start in January next year. Now, a little bit about me, Colin Hiles. I'm an executive coach and an advisor, trainer, and I have the good fortune of working with some of the CFOs running and CEOs running the biggest businesses here in the UK and globally, anywhere from an annual revenue of 300 million to 60 billion. And so I have a real privy into different businesses, what's going on. And I'm going to share with you in a minute I guess you could say it's my unusual value proposition that differentiates me from any other executive coach out there that I know of or I've even heard of, and I've asked an awful lot of people. I am a certified brain science geek. I'm going to share the story with you as how I got into brain science, but neuroscience, positive psychology, social science, behavioral economics. This is basically now the food for my thinking when it comes to figuring out how best to work with myself and with others. I am a terrible surfer, but I love it. It is something that I've been down to Oahu, Southern California and other places with the family. It is something that we've loved to do, but I'm a really good tea maker. My family are from South London. And so as I grew up, tea was really the medicine to cure all ills. So I'm pretty good at making a decent cup of tea. I'll put that down and take that down as a skill. Now, in terms of my unusual value proposition, how do I differentiate myself out there? So I have what is deemed a no growth, no pay policy. So when I sign up to work with C-suite, CFO, CEO, of a big FTSE company, what it basically means is I'm not going to be paid for a whole year. So I'm going to work 1 year without any payment at all. And at the end of the year, if the leader that I'm working with is better in the eyes of what we call key stakeholders, that's the people around the leader, then I get paid. So I put a lot of skin in the game. And if you can imagine, all the risk is my side. And I'm completely blind. Like, if I've got a CFO that I'm working with at the moment, and let's say it's not in the UK because, it could be actually even in the UK at this time. There's one CFO I'm thinking of that could be working at this time right now. I'm blind. I have no idea what they're doing. They could be doing the right behaviors. They could be doing the wrong behaviors. I'm completely blind. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you, this no growth, no pay, is not to boast really, other than to say that I know how to get behavioral change. I stake my professional reputation on it. I put lots of skin in the game based on knowing how to help my clients go from a brand to a better brand in the eyes of people around them. And all a brand is a story that people tell about them. I know how to do that. I've been doing it a while now. I rely heavily on what the science is teaching me, not what opinions. There's too many opinions out there. And the reason for putting this together is I want to share some of what I share with my clients with you. So you're going to learn some of the what I call secret sauce as to what really guarantees change or makes change inevitable. And that's ultimately how I get paid. So what you're going to learn today, let's get into what you'll learn. So you're going to identify a subconscious belief that I'm going to pretty much guarantee that you've got. That it ensures that the efforts to change your own behavior rely primarily on your willpower. And willpower doesn't work long-term. Poor strategy, okay? Two, we're going to look at how do you create for yourself a goal-achieving system that eliminates the need for willpower or motivation, because that's quite fickle. That can be up and down all over the place. And I'll guarantee that this will give you an unfair advantage. And then we're going to tackle some out-of-date self-help myths. And boy, oh boy, there's a lot of myths that fly all over the place that just are not backed up in or validated by any kind of science that you will find. And so we're going to bust a few of those, and we're going to flip conventional self-help thinking on its head to win over one of the biggest dream stealers we're going to talk about today, which is procrastination, right? So that's what we're going to get into today. Now, I am going to give you a chance to work with me in January. So I'm going to make an offer at the end of this training. It's the first time that I have made this offer, and I'm super excited to share it with you. But listen, whether or not you choose to take up the offer, you will get tremendous value out of this webinar. And you can let me know. Obviously, you'll be the judge of it. You can let me know if I don't. But I promise to deliver on your time. I don't take your time lightly. I mean, we can make more money, but we can't make more time. And this is going to be different, right? Maybe from other webinars that you've been on, because I'm going to give you the exact roadmap to really bulletproof your New Year's resolutions for next year. I'm going to give you a step-by-step system that you can follow that makes things inevitable. And then if you are, like some of you I know are really into this space anyway, I want to give you a few new maybe and advanced strategies that maybe you've not heard of, or maybe you're not implementing right now. But what I want to do first is I want to make sure that you're in the right place. So early January, or maybe in December, you start to set some New Year's resolutions. You start thinking about those things that you want to change in your life. Maybe it's to do with health, maybe it's to do with wealth, maybe it's to do with relationships, but you start to think about those things. You write them down or whatever, and then to begin with, as the sort of month starts, your motivation is quite high. You have real commitment, like I'm going to make this happen this time. You start thinking or saying things like this time, this year, new me, you watch what happens. But before long, it isn't long before you relapse into your old habits, into your old ways, and you stay there until the disappointment sort of starts to become intolerable. The pain of the current life starts to become too painful, and then triggers you once again into another highly motivated charge. And like before, it all starts really, really well, but the attempt is doomed to fail yet again. And this creates a vicious cycle. And ultimately, and I'm going to share my story of where I experienced this myself, where this kind of yo-yoing that we experience, ultimately what it creates is a lack of confidence and a lack of belief in ourselves. And it leads to constant failure and crushing disappointment and crushed self-belief, which are two massively significantly demotivating factors. I mean, when you've tried enough times and you've failed enough times, eventually you begin to believe that maybe it's not within me, maybe I can't do this. I mean, fighting with it is not going to make any difference. So the only option is you give up, and you gradually move your goals to the side, and then life goes back to normal. Now, how many of you can relate to that pattern at some time in your life? So let me give you my story. This is what I call my overfat struggle. So I'm in this space. I know a lot about mindset. I've got strategies coming out of I know a lot, right? But even though I knew what to do, which is very simple, eat better and move a little bit more, I was finding it harder and harder as I was becoming older and older. Like these love handles, damn things wouldn't move, to remain consistent. And that's a key word, to remain consistent. I could get going, but I couldn't keep going. And here's the deal. In my profession, at this point, I felt like a fraud. I felt like a hypocrite. Here I am advocating so many great strategies, but struggling in the background to employ those strategies on myself. And here's my 10-year battle. Here you can see what happened over the 10 years, up and down. So I was your typical yo-yo dieter, ultimately. My pattern was really sort of all on or all in or nothing. And I had a moment, I call it my chocolate eclair moment. There I was working in an organization. We'd stopped for a break. I wasn't on next. It was another speaker that was on. So I stayed where all the muffins and eclairs and cookies were. And so everyone's gone back into them. It's just me now. So I pick up a plate, I put a cookie on, I put a muffin on and a cup of tea. I eat the cookie, eat the muffin. Delicious. And I go back to the table and I pick up a chocolate eclair, and literally I'm drooling at this point. And it's only a small one, mine. It wasn't a big one, but it was like one of those miniature ones. And I put that in my mouth. Long story short, I stuffed 7 of these in my mouth, in one after another, after another, after another. And in that moment, I realized I'm not in control. This sugar addiction now has control of me. And I need to get a handle on this. I need to get this nailed. And one of the key lessons that I've learned here is that this all or nothing mentality really gets us all. It almost always gets us nothing. And I don't know if you've heard the saying, if you're going out hunting never trust the advice from a starving man. Well, in our world, there is a saying which is never trust a fat motivational speaker. And I'm going, damn it, that's me, right? You know, I'm falling into that place. So I knew I needed to do something different. Conventional wisdom wasn't working for me. I needed to look in another place. And so I started to fill my library with books on behavioral economics, neuroscience, social science, habit formation, nudge theory, cognitive science. I started reading peer-reviewed journals, which are quite hard to read. I started looking into research papers. I was looking for answers. I was looking for clues. And bit by bit, using behavioral science and my fat loss goal, I was able to sort of decode what was the difference that was making the difference. Plus, I was using this with my clients as well. Remember, I'm not being paid, no growth, no pay. I was using it with them as well, and starting to get results. I started to figure out how you break bad habits and build good habits, how to remain consistent no matter what. And I realized, unfortunately, that there's a lot of bad or outdated information written about how to change ourselves. There's so many myths, there's misconceptions, there's well-meaning but unscientific advice that sets us up fundamentally for failure. But using what I learned, which you're going to hear about today, called the micro-momentum method, I fundamentally shifted my ability to change my weight and shape. I lost 2.5 stone, 35 pounds. Got down to 12% body fat. I gained muscle all over, lost 4 inches off my weight, and saw my sort of abs for the first time since I was a teen. And I've stayed this way since that time, which is 2019, all without fighting poor willpower and dealing with motivational outages. Completely different. And here's what I learned, right? I made this discovery as a result of that. And that is that at the surface level, right, goals can be different. So it could be losing weight, it could be committing to exercise, it could be stopping smoking or gambling, it could be saving money, it could be learning a new skill, it could be starting a business, right? It doesn't matter. That list is very fast. It's a huge list. But when you sort of put that into this funnel and you go all the way down to the bottom, what it fundamentally means at the bottom is you have to change a habit. Reading a book you like, you've still got to change your habit to implement it. Going on a webinar, you've still got to change your habit to implement the ideas. Coming on a training, you've still got to change your habit in order to turn it into something that is going to give you value. And if I was to say that if there's one single thing, and I've been around this industry for an awful long time, that has made been the most helpful in my life, without hesitation, hands down, it would be learning how to change habits. There isn't anything below it. It doesn't go any lower. Changing habits is everything, because habits are what really drive our lives. You know, the sum of our professional life, the sum of our personal life is really our habits. And studies, when you would, have shown that about 40%, 45% of our day-to-day activities rely on repetitive behaviors, that's habits and routines, that don't require us to think. So it's more of that automated. So we don't choose our future. Our habits choose our future. So if we want a new future, if we want a better 2023, if we want a better January, for goodness sake, we have to look at our habits. It's really important that we examine our habits to see whether those habits fit the results that we want to achieve. And if they don't, we call those bad habits because they're moving us away from. And if they do, we call them good habits. Now, I want to share with you right now, let's see if you relate with this. 3 habits that cause 80% of our problems. All of us want to become successful, you know, in some way, shape or form. We have those goals and ambitions and aims, and New Year's resolutions is a great example of that. So let's see, right? So we want to be successful, right? I call that going north. Here we are. We want to go north, right? We want to move forward. We want to become better. We want to have more, do more, become more, whatever that is. Health, happiness, wealth, whatever it is. All right. First one. It's what I call procrastination habit. And procrastination is like going south, because we we move away from the goal rather than towards the goal. And procrastination is just really trying to avoid some uncomfortable feeling. So we put it off, even though we know it's important, even though it might make a difference, even though it's going to change our life, we put it off. And we stay within our comfort zone. And a comfort zone is a bit like a desert. It's a beautiful place, but nothing grows in our comfort zone. Our goals sit outside of our comfort zone. So if we get stuck in the land of procrastination, then life stays about the same. There's no real change. All right, so that's the first one. Let's talk about the second one. It's what I call the distraction habit. You see these? These are weapons of mass distraction. They're beautifully set up and designed by an army of people out there to distract us off of course. And it's what we know, what is called shiny object syndrome. You know, we're constantly distracted with shiny objects. Maybe it could be a shiny object, could be that you get a notification and it takes you into your phone, and then you're in your Facebook, then you're in something else, and you pop out half an hour later and mindlessly it's gone, and that's it. So distraction gets in the way, and let's say that takes us west, if you like. All right, the last one then. A lot of yeses coming on that one. Okay, temptation. Where, you know, we set a goal, for instance, health and fitness goal, and then we're temptation takes over like me, and all of a sudden 7 of these little eclairs have gone in my mouth, and you know, and I don't understand it because I know I shouldn't be eating them. I know they're not in alignment with my goal, what I wanted to do. And temptation, or you spend time with people that tempt you into, you know, maybe you want to stop drinking, but you go out with your buddies and friends and colleagues, and they, you know, have a drink, go and have a drink, go on, like, it's Christmas, come on, have a drink, and all of a sudden you find yourself having a drink. So how many of you can relate to being tempted into doing what you know you shouldn't be doing? These are the 3 habits that I believe give us 80% of our problems. When I'm working with my clients, if we just was, you know, go back and back, we'll find generally it's one of these that's getting in the way. They've got a procrastination habit, they've got a distraction habit, or they've got a temptation habit, and those things are getting in the way. Now let's turn this over to you now. Let's hear from you. Now it's your turn, right? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to fill this out, right? And you've only got to put the behavior and the goal in there, right? So if I had more willpower, I would do what behavior because you want to achieve what goal. Now, that might be something that you do occasionally, like this all on, all off malarkey that I had, but you're not doing it consistently, which means that you're not moving towards your goal. All right, so if I had more willpower, I would do what behavior? What would you do? Because I'd like you to have something that you can relate to here, to look at what I'm going to be sharing with you through. So you can say, okay, so how do I apply what Colin's talking about to turn what I'm writing down right now into something that I can do consistently? And that way then, regardless of whether you take up my offer, you're going to get value out of today's webinar. So I'll give you a couple of ideas. So it could be, if I had more willpower, I'd run 3 times a week because I want to get fit. If I had more willpower, I wouldn't look at my smartphone when I'm at home with my family because I want to stay focused and present. If I had more willpower, I'd get out of bed immediately after the alarm goes off because I want to win the morning, so I win the day. Or, you know, I want to get straight into my meditation routine. All right, now keep this in mind, or maybe just write this down on your notepad so that you've got this, because I want you to look at what I'm going to share with you through this to see, okay, so how do you make this behavior more consistent? Because when I start working with the client, we figure that out right at the very beginning, usually with data and 360, we figure that out. And then we work over the course of the year in order to make the changes. Because what I want to show you now is a proven and reliable system that will get you to your habit goals. All right. And in doing that, I want to talk about 3 major reasons that we basically suck at setting and achieving our New Year's resolutions and what to do instead. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. The first one here is that we overpromise, right? And I'm going to use a little story here to bring this alive, thus the little aeroplane here. Some of you know that Tor and I have lived in Spain for 17 years. We actually now live in London, but we still got our villa in Spain. So we fly to Spain and back quite a lot. And one time we were in a queue, and in front of us, the gentleman was having a bit of an argument with the representative, you know, that was booking his flight. And it became obvious that he basically didn't have a seat, yet he had his ticket. And, you know, what I'm going to assume here is that the airline had overbooked the plane in the assumption that maybe some people won't turn up. And, you know, that way then they still are able to fill every seat. But in this instant, he had turned up and he was a little bit upset because he didn't have a seat anymore. Now, what's my point? Well, my point is, do you overbook the promises that you make to yourself? You know, a New Year's resolution list goes something like, you know, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to learn to speak another language. I want to get a job. I want to save for a deposit. I want to go to the gym 3 times a week. I want to clean out my garage. I want to start my own business, get promoted. I want to build the shed in the garden. I want to learn yoga. I want to travel more. I want to get married. I want to move house. I want to start an investment portfolio. No. And it's just one long list. And I know I've been guilty of this myself, right? And what we do is we quickly turn a good idea into a promise. And the reality is it's much easier to make a promise than it is to deliver on that promise. And what we want to do is not make sure we don't make that. And I've seen this so many times with my clients, with myself, that we break too many promises because we make too many promises. And that way we get in the way of ourselves simply because it's an overwhelm button that goes off. Just like the flight's overbooked, we become overbooked, if you like. Now, once again, in the Q&A, just put, yeah, I know that I've done this in the past, because here's the solution. What I call the winning strategy here is to pick one habit at a time and master it. All right. So one habit is what we want to do here, and we want to master that habit. And here's your top tip on this, right? So what we want to do is we want to set a beginning and an end date. We want to be very, very clear on a beginning and an end date. All right. Now, you might be wondering, well, why would we want to do that, Colin? Well, there's two primary reasons that having a beginning and an end date works. The first one is that when we set New Year's resolutions, it's like we've got a whole year. Now, there's no urgency built into our brains. We have to manufacture urgency. Urgency typically happens more in the outside world. So when you've got a whole year, the brain goes, well, I've got a whole year. What's the rush? What's the hurry? There's no urgency. So what we want to do is we want to set up little 30-day challenges or 30-day experiments here. We want to shorten, start, shorten, end line, something that we can aim to, something we can set to achieve, something we can measure against. And if I just build out on this, I think if you've been around personal development for any length of time, you'll know that it can be overwhelming. It's like being dropped into a vast ocean, and we're drowning in this self-help information. So many books, so many webinars, so many podcasts, so many online courses, so many countless approaches, theories, programs to follow, so many contradictions, so many opinions. And look, I've been around this industry for a long time. It also attracts a lot of self-help charlatans that when you pull back the curtain, behind the scenes, their life's a bloody mess. Or you meet them and you realize, man, you've got a bit of an ego problem here. Where's the humility aspect? Or they're just in it for a quick buck. Yeah, they just want to make money and they're not really caring about the result. And I've seen them come and go over the years as well. And it's hard to know where to start. You never really come to any kind of real strong conclusion. So, that feeling of overwhelmed, we sort of put things off, we procrastinate, put it off for another day. Well, I'll read another book, then maybe that will give me an idea. Or I'll read another podcast, maybe that will give another training, that will give me an idea. And so we become hooked on self-help rather than hooked on taking action and getting some kind of result in which to learn from. And this place here is a wonderful breeding ground for procrastination, distraction, and temptation. I mean, 3 habits that bring so many of our problems. And so what we want to do out instead here is zoom out and think of each year as 12 30-day experiments or 30-day challenges. And each month you test a habit to see whether it makes your life better or not. And if it does, you keep it. If it doesn't, just drop it. And that's okay. What matters most is the mindset of continuous improvement that makes continuous improvement a part of your everyday life. I don't know if you've seen or heard of John C. Maxwell. He's written a number of books, but he said it best when he said that you will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of success is found in your daily routine. And when we zoom out like this, it can make a huge difference. So there's sort of a couple of benefits. Number one, here, as I say, you create a start and finish line. So that helps tremendously. Okay, so what do we want to do in January? What do I want to do in February? What do I want to do in March? Also, it builds a consistent schedule. And what I love about this, and this is how I sort of work with my clients on this here, if you zoom out a second, you can think, okay, what do you want to do in the first quarter? Maybe you want to work purely on, you want to focus on your health habits for the first quarter. So January, February, March, it's just going to be health. And then you get into the second quarter and you focus on happiness habits, for instance. Third quarter, maybe it's relationship. Fourth quarter, maybe it's career. And you schedule the year and you know what you're doing. You know what experiment or challenge you want to do next. Now, of course, that's only an example, and it's much better that it comes from you. But when you think that way, when you plan that way, when you schedule that way, you'll accomplish more in 1 year than some people do in a decade. And I stake my reputation on it, as I say, otherwise I don't get paid. And this approach helps you banish the perfectionism monster. And we've all got one of these monsters. Why? Because it's just a 30-day challenge. It's not the be-all and end-all of an experiment. It's just 30 days. And then you're on to the next habit. You can think, yeah, it works or doesn't. And then at the end of 30 days, you say, right, now what worked well? What went well here? You do a quick review. What went well? What am I pleased with? What am I proud of? What sorts of things do I want to keep? What have I learned? All right. No, sorry. Then you ask, what do I want to learn? And what did I learn? What did I learn? What did I learn here that I can take and use for next month? And then, okay, so what am I going to change to make it even better next month? And so this approach here is approach that will definitely guarantee better results in 2023. So schedule your year. Yeah, you can change it. You might start going through the and say, I'm going to swip that out. I actually want to do this habit next. But this is how I've nailed my morning routine. This is how I've nailed my evening routine, sleep routine, my diet, my nutrition, all that, just by thinking in this way. All right, let's move into the second mistake. Okay, so here's my question to you. How much control do you believe you have over your own behavior? And I want you to score yourself between a 1 and a 10, 10 high. How much self-control do you believe you have? I believe that I have a lot of self-control, 10 or 9 or 8 or whatever. What is it? Now, when I ask audiences this, and I certainly ask my one-to-one clients, I'd say that is the average number. All right, that's the average score that I get. Some are a little bit lower, as you're seeing here, some are a little bit higher. Okay, yeah, about an 8, Colin. And so that really brings about the obvious question. Well, if you have that much control, why are you not doing what you should do on a consistent basis? Which usually brings a little bit of right? So here's the problem, right? This subconscious belief that you or someone has, not all you do because of the numbers, has that much control over your behavior ensures that your efforts to change your behavior rely primarily on willpower. This is one of these erroneous beliefs that we have, because here's what science says, right? This is 70 years of social science, just social science, forget everything else at the moment, right? Is that you and I don't have that much control over our behavior. We love to think we do. We really, really do. But all that's happening is a little bit deluded, which I'll get into. Social science has shown time and time again that they can get well-intended people to do bad things, or people who might otherwise make a bad choice make a better choice in these experiments that they do. They can get people to do things that they have no idea they're doing, that are not even aware that they're doing them, until they reveal, that's interesting. And our minds are easily swayed by often unseen external forces, and our decisions are largely influenced by what's around us at the time. So the other day saw this, right? Now, when I'm working with an audience, let's say of 12 people, I'll ask them all to introduce themselves, tell us a bit about yourself, what's going on in your company right now, in your business right now. Now, typically people sit down as they do this. No one stands up, they go round. So the first one is, if the first person takes 2 minutes to explain, everyone takes 2 minutes, but the others don't know, they've just been influenced by that first person. If the first person takes 30 seconds, everyone will be much, much quicker. Now, the other day, something interesting happened. The first person stood up to introduce himself to people he didn't know. That's rare. Guess what happened? Everyone stood up. Right? Now, they don't realize that they were just influenced by that person. You see, peer pressure is an influencing, forcing factor. You can't see it, but it was in play. It was absolutely in play. Now, here's the problem here. That when we believe we have that much control, when we believe we have that much control, go back. What it does is it ensures that our change efforts fall solely on our shoulders. And you fall into what I call the "it must be me" trap. It must be me. I'm failing because of me. I don't have enough willpower. I don't have enough motivation. I obviously don't want it enough, Colin. I haven't got the grit. I haven't got the determination. And I keep hearing these speakers out there saying it's about grit, it's about determination, it's about motivation. You obviously don't want it enough. And it must be me, Colin. It's got to be me. What else can it be? I mean, obviously, I don't care. Is that what it is? I don't care enough. Have I not? And they go on and on and on and on. Now, I'm going to start by lovingly shouting this at you. You're not weak, regardless of what Thomas said. You're not lazy. You're not broken, right? And the trouble with a lot of self-help and a lot of self-help speakers is that's the drum that they keep beating over and over and over again. They want you to look inside you. They want you to explore your character traits. They want to find something that's obviously got a limiting belief. Colin, I must have some limiting beliefs. It must be limiting beliefs. I've got some limiting beliefs. Must have limiting beliefs. That's what it, and I'd say maybe the limiting belief is the belief you've got a limiting belief. Why don't we start there for a start? There's so many other factors that could be at play here that actually have nothing to do with you. And when you understand this, it can make a difference, because here's the problem. You're not weak, you're not lazy, you're not broken, but you're blind. You're blind. That's the problem. You're blind. And what do I mean you're blind to? You're blind to so many of the powerful influencing forces that are in your environment that are shaping your decisions and shaping your actions moment to moment. I love this quote, right? When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which the flower grows, not the flower. I love that. It's so true. Because if you look at that from a slightly different angle, what it's really saying is, if I'm not blooming, I need to fix the environment in which I'm growing, not me. And written that way, it makes such a powerful, profound, and perfect message. Because in between setting a goal and achieving a goal with the motivation, you go into an environment. An environment will always trump willpower. Let's say you want to be fit and healthy, you don't want to eat high sugary foods, and I stick you in a donut shop every day, watching people eat donuts. You love donuts. They're offering you donuts, you're smelling donuts. I don't care how much willpower you have. I don't know how so much self-control. At some point, you're going to break. There'll be a break, right? But if I stick you in a shop where you don't have those temptations, all of a sudden things change. And you know, you want to improve your diet, but your house is full of unhealthy snacks. You want to quit smoking, but you're around people that keep offering you cigarettes or smoke. You want to start saving money, but you've got social media apps that keep bombarding you with promotional notifications. You know, you want to cut back on drinking, but your friends love to drink and they keep offering you. You know, environment will almost always defeat our inner commitment, because willpower wanes at the end of the day. It's called ego depletion, if you want to know a little bit about it. Or you want to get up early, but Netflix binge is keeping you up late. So, you know, whenever we set a goal, we're in an environment which is fundamentally set up to trigger the old behaviors, the people around us, the spaces around us. And the whole idea of environmental optimization is to change the environment to make the behavior we want to do easy and the behavior we don't want to do much, much harder. That's really the goal here. You want to be healthy, then put your house on a diet. Have no healthy snacks in the food, in the house. You want to, you know, get up without snoozing, then put your alarm as far away as you possibly can. So you have to get out of bed and turn the damn thing off. You want to be more productive, then turn off all the notifications that are around you. And so you're not being distracted all the time. You want to exercise, then make sure you organize the night before. Get the environment set up right, and there's far more chance that you will achieve your goal, because you've got the environment working in your favor now rather than working against you. And this was a game changer for me, an absolute game changer. I stopped thinking that I was wrong, and I started looking for other factors that I'd been blind to and started making an change. In other words, don't change you, change what's around you. And that is very different to a lot of the messages that you're going to continually get hit with on social media, on many platforms, from many speakers, in many books, because we focus just on the brain, but the brain never sits outside of a context. And if you don't bring the context into the equation, then you're missing something big. As a coach, I have learned to focus more on context than I have on content. And if I get the context right for that leader stands a chance of getting much, much better. All right, let's move on, because the time is flying by here. Right, last one. The go big or go home. Here's another self-help myth that we just need to bloody well bust, right? And this one's pretty pervasive. I have to fight my clients on this one. So strong is the cultural conditioning for this one. We are told that if we are not doing something to our absolute fullest, if we're not going big, if we're not going fast, then we're just a flake. And we need to drop this mindset for that one. Go micro and grow incrementally, right? Micro, we have a little saying, and that is the way to go is micro, right? If it's only small change, then there's no need to procrastinate. There's no need for motivation. It's not too uncomfortable, so there's no inner resistance, and it doesn't need a lot of self-discipline. Plus, you can focus. And so behavioral scientists don't believe in everything, but they do believe in the golden rule, and that is make the action so small, it's easy to do. Because success is for those that are consistent, and consistently equals successful results. So one of the top tips here is move away from this all or nothing thinking. This is a conversation that I was having this one last week on Friday with someone. You know, Colin, I just can't get myself to exercise at the moment. Okay, what do you want to do? Well, you know, I want to go on I want to ride my bike for at least an hour a day, but I'm just not getting around to it, right? So when you're not doing an hour, what do? I don't do anything, right? So here we've got this all or nothing that you saw me experiencing here. What I recommend is adaptability thinking or flexibility thinking. So say no to the switch on and off and turn to a dial where you have a 10 all the way down to a 1. Now, let's say a 10 for this person was riding a bike for an hour. That's a 10. That's what you want to do. But on certain days when the kids are sick and your boss is putting you under tremendous demands and life is throwing out unexpected twists and turns at you, you can't get round to that. Rather than do nothing, you do something. And let's say a 1 is 10 squats, 10 push-ups, for instance, or 10 star jumps, whatever it is, right? Could come down to 1. Now you've got a dial. And what you do is you approach the day at the right number for the day. And as long as you're doing something, you're still in the game. Now, that something like 10 push-ups may not move you that much fitness or muscle building wise, but it does reinforce the identity that I can remain consistent. And it moves us away from being crushed. So that little dial there is just one of the tools that I'm going to be sharing in the whole toolkit that really helps bring about a degree of consistency. So like writing a book, it might be you write one word, you write one sentence, because that's all you've got time for today. So you just basically take what you wrote down and you find what's your 1. So maybe in the box here, Q&A box, maybe what's your run? What's your 1 for your behavior that you want to do a little bit more? You can't run 3 times a week. Let's say, well, today I just haven't got time to do my 20-minute run. Well, what could you do? What could you do then? Well, I could do 5 squats. Great. That's your 1 then. Do your 5 squats. Do them now. There you go. Done. Tick. Done. You've done your exercise. You're in the game still. So let's recap here. You've learned that habits run your life. You've discovered 3 habits that cause 80% of your problems. You've learned to master 1 habit at a time and schedule 30-day challenges. You know not to rely on self-control, willpower, and tweak your environment instead. And you've discovered flexibility thinking or adaptability thinking that beats all or nothing thinking. Now, you could, right? Choice 1. You can take this, you can apply this, you can use this. And just with that tool alone, that show up dial, that can make a huge difference. Just that one tool and the application of that one tool alone can make a difference. Or you can let me help you keep your promise so that you finish January feeling focused, strong, and proud. So let's talk about this idea that I want to share with you. And that is the January 30-day habit challenge, where you're going to use the micro momentum method to escape the it must be me trap, beat motivation problems. So you start 2023 in the best possible way. So here's how it works, right? We're going to start this on January the 2nd. You're going to choose 1 habit you want to focus on in January. So we'll take you through a process to help you do that. You're going to get access to the Habit Coach app, and you're going to watch a short video a day and take 1 small action every day. That's the goal. You're going to learn how to change your habit struggle using the 8 to Be Great toolkit. You'll learn all about the tools in the toolkit. You just saw one of the tools. Plus, I'm going to coach you to successfully change using science rather than opinion. Many of my years now, and I'm going to help you build this system, because ultimately it's the system, what I call a motivational system. You're going to outsource your motivation to the environment, and the environment is going to become the motivating factor. Because I've learned the strongest form of commitment isn't internal, it's actually external. It's just that when people say I've got strong internal, you go, let's explore what's going on outside of you. And straight away I start to see things that they've got going on that they don't realize, like someone's holding them accountable, for instance, or they've got a coach, or they've set a deadline. You know, and a deadline is a very motivational factor, but they don't realize that actually you think it's internal, but you've got some things set up here external that are really making the difference, but you're just blind to it. Now, of course, internal factors are important. Of course they are, but it's not everything. And I'm a little bit resistant when a motivational speaker just beats the drum only about that, because I can give them one piece of evidence that proves that that can't only be that. It's just not possible for it to only be that. And then you'll also receive some support and advice and inspiration from the challenge community. The goal here is 100, and then we close the doors. 100, and that's it. But imagine going through a process like that with 100 habit hackers all together, celebrating each other's wins, being there to support each other, inspire each other, me in there working with you as well on a day-to-day basis. We're going to send you an email every day, just as a little nudge, a little reminder. Here's what we want to do. We're going to set everything up in the outside world that's going to make the inside world for you something that stays committed to the end goal, so that you'll stick to your number one, your resolution. You're going to master the micro momentum method. And once you've mastered it, you can use it anywhere you want in the future to change as many habits. And I'm going to help you do that without stress, worry, struggle, or anything. And all it's going to cost is that, like $1 a day. It's a ridiculous amount of money. You're going to get instant access to the app so that you can get in it, start learning it, start understanding it, start communicating, start creating that vibe. So you get momentum now, so that when we start on January the 2nd, you're off and running. You're going to get an 8-part How to Be Happy course here. One of the things that so many people want to be happier, I'm going to break it down for you, show you exactly what it takes to be happier. And of course, you could set some happiness goals as well. You're going to get my ebook, Daily Habit Hacks, which is also going to help you and give you some strategies. But this is the biggie, right? Mind Power Shots. Now, this has retailed at $197. You're getting it for nothing. And here you've got 5 literally life-changing guided visualizations using powerful isochronic tones that hemisync your brain. You've got me taking you through a guided visualization or guided meditation. I've got so many great stories on these. Alpha Calm is my favorite, but a lot of people love the Dissolver for really dealing with some of the traumas in their life. It dissolves those. These are very powerful. Has anyone on here got these? If you are, just put them in and give us a little, a sense for those that are on here as to just how powerful these are. All the heavy lifting is done for you. You're going to get instant access to that. So you can just basically start listening to these straight away. They're about 10 to 12 minutes, each one. Be very careful. I had a CFO recently put it on a train. He should have got off in the Midlands. He ended up in Scotland. He fell asleep. That was Alpha Calm, by the way, just knocked him out, which he wasn't too happy about, rightly so. So yeah, be careful when you put some of these things on. They are quite powerful. They will take you into a very blissful state, but he didn't want to be in Scotland, obviously. So that's free, completely free. No charge for that. That's in there. And this little deal here is going to be available to you guys for 3 days. All right, so you get everything that I've just shared for you for 3 days, and then that goes. So imagine being able to change your bad habits and build new ones, fast, easy, and fun for the rest of your life. Imagine never struggling with these dream-stealing habits of procrastination, distraction, temptation. Instead, action and future focus becomes your default because you know how to deal with them now with the toolkit. And picture yourself getting to the end of January, feeling proud, feeling strong, feeling focused, and you're going into February with momentum now. And you're seeing measurable results. That's the thing here, with your own eyes. And success precedes confidence. And it's not the other way around. Another myth that's out there. You need to be confident to be successful. No, it's the other way around. You need to get some little wins to start feeling confident. And then confident breeds. But you start with some little wins. Little wins every day. Winning by a small amount starts to add up. And that's how you skyrocket your self-belief. But of course, right, I'm confident here. This is the world that I live. If you don't believe that you get 10x the value for your $30, I'll give you your money back. You don't have to give me any questions. You just say, or any answers or any, I'd like my money back. I'll give you $30 back. No questions asked. And so the risk's my side. It's not your side. And I can't do any better than that. I mean, that is, what have you got to lose at the end of the day? So thanks for watching the webinar. I appreciate that you're here with me. I trust you've learned a few things here about bulletproof in your New Year's resolutions. I hope you're excited to join the January 30-day challenge. I look forward to working with you and helping you and supporting you in any way that I possibly can. Let's get January off to the best possible start. Let's get that momentum. Let's build some self-belief. Let's do something that we've not done before, i.e. change the environment to make our behavior change so much easier. Let's get a win. So thank you. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.